One of the biggest success stories out of New York, 20 million users. But as you know, Deirdre, it's going to take a lot more than just getting people to transact on the site. To boost revenue, Etsy is offering some new services. In the shadow of the Brooklyn Bridge, this New York startup wants to make going local a global enterprise. Etsy, founded in 2005, is the world's biggest marketplace for handmade products, cashing in on the trend of buying from small producers rather than global conglomerates.
Everything that you see around here, more or less, has been bought on Etsy. We believe that we're changing the way people actually consume on a larger scale. So I think a lot of the things that you can buy on Etsy are, over time, going to replace the mass-produced items that you buy in other venues.
Etsy sees eBay and Amazon, the e-commerce giants, as its main competitors. The e-commerce industry generates about $216 billion in revenue annually. Etsy is already making its mark, with $700 million in sales this year.
When we first invested in Etsy back in 2006, this was the question we asked ourselves. You know, crafts, it's cool, it's nice, it's arty. How big could it be?
Pretty big. Investors have poured $92 million into the company. And the latest round, earlier this year, values the company at over $600 million.
We're over 300 employees now worldwide, so you see a lot of construction here because we're building out office space.
The biggest obstacle to future growth, staying true to the company's local roots while building a global and scalable business. Dickerson wants tens of millions of sellers using the platform, exponentially more than today's 800,000.
Being on Etsy is a huge benefit. People know what they're willing to spend. They know specifically what they're looking for.
Lauren Fikowski is a typical Etsy seller. She custom makes handbags from her living room.
I'm actually in the process of figuring out how I'm going to factor into my budget hiring somebody. With a lot of the traffic and sales that I've received through Etsy, it's brought an onslaught of orders.
Since there's a natural ceiling on how much Etsy sellers can produce, the site is looking to grow in part by welcoming sellers of goods that aren't handmade. The line can get very blurry between a do-it-yourself manufacturer and a manufacturer.
Absolutely. It's not the tech that really, is the hard part. It's the governance. It's what are the rules in the system? How are the rules applied? How are they applied fairly?
If Etsy veers too far from its focus on local and handmade products, it risks losing customers who are willing to pay more for them.
When you're buying from traditional e-commerce, it's all about price and convenience, and at Etsy it's more about the connection in the community and buying something that's lasting and authentic.
Customers may not mind paying more, but sellers do. Etsy prides itself on treating its sellers fairly, charging 20 cents per listing regardless of quantity, and 3.5% commission for every item sold.
96.5% goes to the seller. So I've learned that a business model like Etsy's can also be very good for the community.
But as Etsy grows, it's getting easier for sellers to get lost, like Whimsy and Spice, one of the first cookie sellers on the site.
It's important as an Etsy seller to stay on top and stay visible. As more and more people sell on Etsy, especially in your individual category, that's becoming more challenging to do.
Etsy offers a solution for sellers who want to stand out: search ads, where sellers pay to keep their products in the top spot of search results.
One of our most popular products generates a lot of revenue for Etsy, and we're going to continue to build experiences to let sellers promote themselves.
Etsy hopes that additional categories, better search, and more revenue from markets around the world will vault Etsy from New York startup to e-commerce giant.